Hi guys, I'm Potato McWhiskey and welcome to the Civilization 6 Winter 2016 Update Analysis. Now, I already tried to record this once and I got like I spent like 30 minutes doing this, but I lost the video because of a bug, so, we're gonna go try and go through this pretty quickly because I don't want it to drag on. Do a quick short little look at everything, but let's jump right into things. As here are the full list of changes in this new update. So added the Earth map, that's pretty cool. I always enjoyed playing on the Earth map, so I'm pretty excited to play it. Don't really think it matters for balance, it's more of like a fluff sort of little bit of content. I wouldn't say it's going to hugely change the game, but it's going to make, if you like playing on the Earth map like I do, it's going to make the game more interesting and more fun. Added alert action for units, that's a pretty big deal. It was a little bit annoying that this wasn't in the game, considering it has been in every preceding game that I have played. I started playing around Civ 4, and I'm 99% certain that that was in on launch. I could be wrong. And it's I would say this is kind of like a quality of life thing slash minor feature. A scenario setup menu. This is just I don't really know what this is. I haven't seen it. I don't know how it works. Just basically makes it easier to set up a scenario, which I'm really excited to try out. I think my next Civilization series is going to be me playing maybe a couple of these scenarios. I think they are worthy of at least a look at. Let's see here. Added new replay option to the Wonder Completion movies. So, if you want to rewatch the Wonder Completion movies, and now there's a dog nearby like screeching, so that's useful. Gameplay updates. Religious units may now fortify until healed. This is a pretty big change because I think religious units were and still are a pain in the ass to micromanage and keep track of and use. I think the religious side of things needs like a whole DLC just dedicated to getting religion to where it needs to be. I am happy that they're making positive changes to religion and that they continue to iterate upon it. It makes me feel very confident that they want religion to be a viable and interesting way to try to win the game. In case you're wondering whether you can hear a new dog barking, is one of my neighbors got a new dog, and this new dog just loves to bark constantly, which is very, very annoying for me when I'm trying to make videos. Anyway, coastal raids can now pillage districts in addition to the buildings within. That's a pretty, nice buff to. I think Norway is the only person with the coastal raid ability. Could be wrong. Let me know. But that's a pretty good change for them. It's not going to make them good, but I mean, it makes them less bad. So, Great Admirals are no longer allowed spawn on wonders and water tiles. For example, Huey and Great Lighthouse, so they cannot become stranded in lakes. This actually happened to me in one of my first games. I was playing as Germany, and I built the Huey Tlatcottle or whatever it's called, and then a Great Admiral spawned in a lake, and I just couldn't use him, which was kind of irrelevant to the outcome of the game because Great Admirals generally kind of suck anyway. So this is a bug fix in my opinion. Okay. Balance changes. Cities can no longer receive yields from more than one regional building per type. They take the highest. For example, factories. And cities can no longer receive amenities from more than one regional building per type. They take the highest. Example, amenities from multiple stadiums. This is pretty huge. I'd say this is pretty gargantuan in terms of the balance change. The metagame basically revolved around getting as many commercial hubs, industrial districts, and science districts as possible, or campuses possible. And in turn, that basically revolved around settling as many cities as possible. This is going to not completely eradicate that, but significantly change not only how people play, also this should not be showing up, significantly changing not only how people play, but how people place the cities. Every aspect of the game is influenced based on this one change, and there's going to have to be more balance adjustments to bring things more in line as a result of this. I think the regional building stacking mechanic was pretty interesting, but fundamentally it just caused every decision you make to revolve around it to an extent. In terms of how do I get more regional buildings? Which tile do I place it to get the most out of my regional buildings? And then what do I build with all these regional building bonuses? And just amenities and hammers are like the best yields in the game at the moment. I think it goes like production, food, science, culture, gold, faith is like the order. And you could maybe swap a couple of them, like maybe one game you prefer food over, I think, or gold over culture depending on the game, but generally, in a sort of in the general case, that's going to be the order you value things in. And factories stacking was just bananas, especially because you could late game settle a city if you were going for a wide strategy, and instantly that city has like 40 to 50 production, which was crazy, ridiculous. And now that's not going to be the case. Cities can, and it's the same for amenities, because amenities were on top of that. Amenities were percentage based boosts, so all of your cities would just have like +7 amenities, which was +10% yields for everything except food, and +20% food. So it was crazy. I'm pretty happy about this change. I think it pushes the game towards making wide more viable by making tall, or making tall more viable by making wide weaker. Although typically I usually don't like to nerf things, I do think in this case it's kind of required because it was just so good that it was the meta. Decreased wonder production progressively, so about 10% in the industrial area, 40% in the atomic area. This is a pretty good change. Wonders are now, like, wonders right now are incredibly expensive. Spent so many turns getting them for what is kind of, quite honestly, kind of a mediocre bonus. So, making them a little bit easier to get overall is going to be good for the game, in my opinion, especially because the late game wonders. Like, I think I had a game where I was building the Eiffel Tower and it was like a 17 turn build in one of my really good production cities, which was just crazy, to be honest. So definitely a little bit of a reduction here is more than welcome. I think I should take these two changes together, which is the decreased production cost of all space race projects by 40%, and the spaceport district no longer requires population to construct. These are, I think, these two changes together might make the space race sort of victory condition kind of the default win in multiplayer, with the exception of going for a domination victory. I already think space race was the second best victory type in terms of how easy it is to do. So making it easier, like buffing the second best thing in single player, at least. I think in single player it goes like domination, space race, culture, and then religion, and then score, because no one does score. Well, maybe people do score. Yeah, I think religion is definitely, religious victory is definitely the one I think that needs the most love in terms of like development and refinement. I think the space race, I don't think it really needed buffs in terms of single player. So I think if I had to take these two changes as a pair and like choose an either or, I would have taken this one because I feel like this one makes it more interesting. I think just like, yeah, it's cheaper. I'm not sure how I feel about this, although everything else I'm kind of a fan of, so I'm going to accept that maybe they know what they're doing. I think increased research costs of technologies and civics progressively from the industrial era to the information era is about 5 to 20%. This is a pretty big deal, in my opinion, because the excessive amount of wideness meant that in the late game, you just, steamrolled through late game technologies at like an incredible pace because you had like somewhere between 400 and 700 science, depending on the stage of the game and how many cities you built. So I think toning that back by encouraging people to build less cities, and by making late game technologies a little bit more expensive, I think this is going to make the sort of progression through the eras feel a little bit more balanced. I'm a big fan of this change. Minor buffs to the faith from mission and the culture from Chateau. I think Spain and France are kind of weak as civilizations right now, so changes to them are welcome. I think by no means do I think this is going to push them into like the good or OP situation, but I think it's definitely going to make them less bad. Whether or not it's going to increase their play or make them more viable, I mean, it's a nudge in the right direction. This to me is a signal from the developers that they feel that those civilizations are, generally speaking, like okay, but they just need like a little bit of work to get them to where they need to be. Lower the minimum unit upgrade cost, no idea what that means, probably don't really care. Improve the clarity on warmonger penalties associated with taking a civilization's final city. This is a pretty big deal for new and casual players, because oftentimes what would happen is, and I'm guilty of this myself, is when a civilization would attack you, you would just get like, all right, screw this, I'm killing him. So like, Pedro, you declared war on me, time to die, and you just wipe out this civilization, and then every other civilization in the game just hates you forever because you completely annihilated this civilization. And from a player's perspective, it's like, wait, I was defending myself and he killed me, but the game is like, you shouldn't just wipe people out of the game. So now that they make that clearer to players, the gameplay, what they're doing should make more sense, and maybe they'll be discouraged away from just annihilating another player for being annoying. Most civilization unique districts now require population to construct. This is an absolutely gargantuan change to all of the civilizations that have unique districts. I think the greatest affected here is Russia. I think Germany is pretty affected, and I think who else has a unique district? No, Greece, Germany, and Russia had unique districts. I think there might be more here. Look it up. District. Okay. Okay, so there was the Russia, Greece, is it England or Great Britain? I don't remember. One of the two. The Royal Navy dockyard. That dog. The what's his name? Pedro. Yeah, I think out of these, I think Russia is the most effective because because religion is already kind of weak, and now they have even less reason to build it than they did. Even though this Russia is like the civilization that has like the most reasons to build it because they get half off, because it didn't take up a population slot for a district, because they had a really good unit that they could faith purchase in the mid game, and now it's like it still takes that population. So now you're really giving up something to go for that. So I think Russia is the most negatively affected by this, but I think this is generally speaking a sort of regression to the mean balance change where the civilizations that had this bonus were like just far and away better in general than the other civilizations on average. So now they're getting pushed towards the middle so that the power that they had from that can be shifted maybe into other bonuses or something like that. I still think Sumeria and Scythia are the strongest civilizations for warmongering. I think they're like the top two civilizations, and this doesn't affect them at all. So we'll see. But yeah, that covers almost all of the balance changes. We'll have a little bit of a look at some of the other changes. There's a couple of bug fixes in here, and bug fixes can oftentimes affect the balance of a game, particularly in a multiplayer standpoint. Although I think in terms of these, it's not really many huge. Like, for example, the two that I can think of are the several unique buildings that weren't getting their yields increased by various game effects, for example, policies. That's I'd say that's like a fairly big change because some of the buildings weren't getting the bonuses that they should have. And the Goddess of the Harvest Pantheon bonus, pretty huge because that was just like downright broken. But I think, otherwise there's not really much of a balance change going on here. New artwork, UI, and stuff like that. Nothing too crazy. So we're gonna skip over this mostly, and then go on to talk about Poland. But first, I want to give like my overall thoughts on this. I think overall this is a good sign from the developers that they're not only are they playing their game, they're listening to the community about the things they like and they don't like. They're also taking steps to address certain negative cycles in the gameplay. For example, spamming cities and then having to maintain all those cities, which was a lot of mental effort in a game. I think overall these are good changes to making the game feel more consistent throughout the eras and feel more what's the word I'm looking for? Feel more consistent. I think I already said consistent. Feel more consistent in its sort of rules and how things are constructed. I don't know how I describe this, but basically, I feel like this makes the gameplay more consistent, and it makes wide weaker because wide was like the default strategy. Wide was just better in every respect, and now, it's a little bit less better So we're going to have to spend some time with it and see how it feels. I think overall this is a good direction to take the game, and I'm a big fan of it, and I like to see these changes, and I hope to see more changes like them. Okay, let's get on to Poland. Poland actually has sort of 5 bonuses, sort of. So we'll talk about them. It's Poland is Jadwiga, which thanks to Marbazier for letting me know how to pronounce that. I sent him a tweet and he told me it is Jadwiga. I asked him because he's Polish and an expert on Polish names. Anyway, so the Polish civilization. There's a new scenario, and then another Viking scenario. I'm not like whatever. I'll play them, and I'm pretty excited about playing them. But I don't think it's really worth talking about them because I think they're more something that you need to experience than to talk about. So I'm looking forward to trying these out, but I don't think it's really relevant to talk about these in an analysis. So we have Poland. The first bonus that Poland has is the Golden Liberty unique ability allows them to gain territory when they build a fort or encampment, even allowing them to steal territory from other civs. They also convert a military policy into a wildcard slot, giving them extra flexibility and culture. I'm going to break that in. That's kind of 2 bonuses, so I'm going to break them into different parts. The first part I want to talk about is the wildcard slot thing. We go into governments here, of 6. It might not seem like a pretty huge deal that you can convert a military policy into a wildcard policy, but it actually it makes Poland really unique in that their government choices are a lot more flexible, especially in the early game compared to other civilizations. For example, Poland can play autocracy as if the same way any other civilization would play oligarchy. Because they get that extra wildcard slot, they're sort of not giving up that diplomatic slot. They can keep they basically can have an oligarchy style government in an autocracy government because this is shifted over here. And so really for Poland, what you're looking at here when you're choosing between your governments, you're no longer really looking here. You're no longer really looking at what are the cards I get out of it, because for Poland, it doesn't matter as much. What you're looking at is what do I want here? And I think this change makes autocracy way more viable for Poland than any other civilization. Being able to get +1 boost to all yields and a 10% bonus to wonder construction without giving up a diplomatic slot because you get the wildcard to use as a diplomatic slot, that's huge. It's huge for Poland. In comparison to other civs who can't do that, who then they have to use their wildcard slot for a diplomatic slot, and then they have 2 military slots, which are kind of useless in the early game for SimCity. And it's the same for oligarchy. Poland can play an oligarchy as if it was a classical republic. So if Poland wants this set of bonuses instead of this, they can have it without giving up an economic slot for it, which makes oligarchy potentially viable. I don't know. I think it's pretty good, but it doesn't affect Classical Republic. So Classical Republic is just as good as it is for any other civilization. In the mid game, it's less impactful. It makes Merchant Republic, makes all of these slightly better. Like Merchant Republic is slightly better for SimCity now. I think what it does though is it does make monarchy a lot more viable. And here's why. Because monarchy is the earliest tier 2 government to come out, typically, in terms of when you can get it. But oftentimes you don't want to take it because you're usually on Classical Republic, which has 2 economic slots. And you don't want to give up 2 economic slots for 1 economic slot. But as Poland, you can take monarchy and still have the same amount of economic and wildcard combined as you would on Classical Republic. So for Poland, it's much more viable to go monarchy and then not go to war compared to other civilizations. I think with other civilizations, if you're taking monarchy, you kind of have to go to war. Otherwise, you're just falling behind in terms of SimCity because you just have less cards dedicated to growth and stuff. Whereas Poland can do this now and not worry about it, and it makes theocracy slightly better. because you have another wild card. So, overall, it's a pretty interesting bonus. It doesn't really affect the late game too much because usually the late game you're more interested in these anyway. It does make fascism slightly better at SimCitying, but fascism isn't really a SimCity government anyway. I think it makes government or makes communism more viable because communism is pretty good already. Yeah, I think how I would rate that bonus. I would rate that bonus as very, very strong. It is strongest in the early game. It is okay in the mid game, and it's kind of, I would say it's mediocre to irrelevant in the late game. But I think this makes Poland much more flexible in the early game, gives them a lot more options and things that they can do that other civilizations can't. So that's why I think this bonus is really cool because it makes Poland unique. And then on top of that, they have the ability to steal land, which makes Poland like, not only do they play completely differently, but in a multiplayer situation, people are going to play around Poland as a neighbor completely differently compared to any other civilization. You are not going to you're going to want like some distance between you and Poland, because if you settle too close to Poland, they're just going to steal your tiles. Like if you try to settle near Poland and then purchase a luxury out from under them, they're just going to get that luxury back and screw you. So I think people are going to interact with a player playing Poland much differently than how they interact with a player who's playing any other civilization that doesn't have this ability. I think it's also going to change how Poland interacts with other players. Maybe they bully people more. Maybe they're more diplomatic. Well, how about you settled here and I'll settle here, and I'll agree not to steal any land. Yeah, I think it makes Poland very, very interesting to play, especially in multiplayer. And that dog finally stopped barking. Thank God. Okay, Jadwiga allows you to spread your religion to the nearby city when you gain another civil's territory with Golden Liberty. That's the first ability. Her relics provide bonus faith, culture, and gold. So this is another one where it's kind of two bonuses in one. Being able to spread your religion by stealing land is like okay, more useful for single player in my opinion, because if you do that to someone in multiplayer, they're going to get angry and just like declare war on you, which puts you in a bad spot. Although Poland has a really good unique unit that we'll talk about later, so maybe they care less about that. The relics providing bonus faith, culture, and gold is pretty actually huge, especially if you get the relic bonus pantheon. Although it's kind of it's like a huge bonus, but it's like so not so inconsistent. It's just inconsistent. Like there's no really, you can't really guarantee that you get a relic without like a huge investment, which puts you at a disadvantage in other areas. So in the games where you get an early relic from a tribal village, yeah, Poland is just like way better, kind of like the Congo. But in games where you don't, it's like, this bonus doesn't do anything for you like for almost the entire game unless you invest a ridiculous amount of hammers and faith into getting them. So yeah, it's like this is like an okay ability. It makes Poland pretty interesting for a religious game in single player, and it makes them finding relics feel really fun and interesting. Actually, in the very first game I played with Poland, I got a relic, so that was pretty exciting, and it did feel really nice because I also went for the relic quadrupling pantheon, and that was pretty fun. Or was it a pantheon or follower belief? I don't remember. The famous winged hussar is strong on the attack and can push back defense units. The winged hussar is really strong for a couple of reasons. It is 70 more production than a knight, or I think it's seven more production, I think. See here. Sorry. It's 7 more melee strength for 70 more hammers. So in terms of its like price to melee strength ratio, it's weaker than the knight, but it comes out through a civic rather than a technology. So there's like you can kind of play around things differently there. But it actually has the I think they're going to be hard build, but definitely some purchasing, whether faith or gold, is going to be very interesting with this unit. And I think this unit is going to be very good for defending and attacking because you can push enemy units into a bad position, or push them away from your cities, or just push them around in general. So this unit is going to be very good for, I think, offense and defense, which I think is like Poland's identity. It's a civilization that has like this sort of threat level that is suited. It has these abilities that don't really favor defense or offensive. They kind of work well for both, which makes Poland kind of a target, but also kind of a dangerous target, if you know what I mean. Because you want to hit Poland because it's scary if they hit you, but Poland are good at being hit, and they have ways to deal with you if you hit them. So, it makes Poland kind of scary, but it also makes them pretty scared. I like it. I like it. The Winged Hussar, I think it's going to be very strong. I think there's going to be some pretty interesting strategies. I think it has a couple of weaknesses, though, in particular that it's on the wrong side of the civic tree to come out with the Reformed Church or whatever it's called with the faith purchasing. So faith purchasing it is pretty hard. I think it's going to have to be like a thing where you exclusively save up gold to purchase it, because I don't think you can upgrade into it. I don't think the chariot upgrades into it. So yeah, I feel like it's pretty much either a hard building, which makes it slow, or purchasing with gold unit, which makes it sort of situational. But I think I definitely think the unit has potential because it does upgrade into tanks, which are really good mid late game units. The Sukienis is like incredible. The building is like hands down unbelievably good. First of all, it's built in a commercial district, which is a district you're going to build anyway because you need commercial districts because they give you food and hammers and gold, which are like the best three sort of yields that you want out of a city in terms of just Sim City. So that's just like by default, anything to do, any bonus that has to do with a commercial hub is already just like great. And the fact that it's the first commercial hub building a market, which makes your trade routes even better, and those are already strong. It's a great building. I think it's going to make Poland very strong at SimCitying. There's just a lot going on here with Poland that makes them very strong. I am a little bit worried that this is sort of like signal that all of the DLC civilizations are just going to be like really good in comparison to the default ones. I'll give Firaxis 2K the sort of the benefit of the doubt there, and I won't like jump to conclusions. Definitely something that kind of worries me, but I think Poland is going to be really fun to play. I think it's going to be really interesting to play. I think they're going to be really, really strong in multiplayer and single player. I think their bonuses just sound like a lot of fun. So here's another scenario. I will play this scenario and hopefully do a stream on it. We're gonna look at the new city states. So states, city state, Civ 6. Okay, so types of city state. We have here Antananarivo. So the culture bonus increases with every great person gained. I think it's like a 2% per great person. This is an incredible bonus. I think this is going to be pretty hard fought over for certain strategies. I think it's not like crazy, but I think it could be pretty good if you are doing some sort of great person generation strategy or something. Arma, your builders can make monastery improvements. I think the monastery is kind of like okay, useful for a religious victory or religious combat. Not amazing. Oh wow, hold on. To provide housing? No, it doesn't provide housing. I mean, it's. I think it's like, what was it? The monastery. It's like okay. Monastery. What? Where is it? Oh, here it is. Yeah, I think it's like okay. Plus 2 fates. Okay, it's not like amazing. Maybe it's useful. Maybe it's useful in a few scenarios. I would say it's not great. I think it lets you heal your faith unit. Yeah, it lets you heal your faith unit. So in that sense, if you're maybe going through a religious war or something, I don't know. No, I don't know. It doesn't seem very good. It seems like inconsequential. Auckland. I think Auckland has a shallow tile waters worked by citizens provide +1 production. and another +1 production when you reach the industrial era. I think this guy could like hands down, like Auckland hands down could make like coastal civilizations way more viable for going tall. I think it's gonna make coastal civs like pretty reasonably strong if you get this suzerainty. I would say it's like a I would say this is like a decent bonus, but it's already on an industrial city state, so that's like actually a pretty good bonus. So definitely not bad. Granada. Let's see here. The Alcazar improvement. So this is a +2 culture and +4 defense fortification. So it's basically a fort that gives you culture. I think this is like kind of inconsequential. It's like okay, yeah, not bad. It's not terrible, but it's not really like game changing. Muscat is actually kind of game changing in my opinion. It's probably like the strongest of the new city states. It gives you +1 amenities in cities with a commercial hub. We talked about this before. You're already building commercial hubs. You're already getting gold bonuses out of your commercial hubs from putting envoys in this guy anyway. Now you're getting amenities. Amenities are important. All these things reinforcing themselves. I think Muscat might even be the strongest trade city state in the game. Maybe possible. I'd have to have a look and review all of them, but I think it's definitely a really strong city state in my opinion. So if it appears in your game, you're going to be pretty happy about it. And then extra growth in your cities with a campus district. This is like okay, you build a lot of campus districts in Civ 6 in my opinion, and you're going to want to be trying to get the +2 science in every campus district. From the 3 and 6 envoys, but I don't think people are going to fight over this. There'll be like one person who cares enough to put 7 envoys into this city state, and then that'll be it. Or maybe I don't think people are going to invest passive envoys into this. I think they would maybe do a couple of city state missions if they were easy to try and get the bonus, but I don't think this is going to be a fought over bonus because growth is kind of I feel undervalued already in the game. Okay. That covers all of the city states. I would say overall, the new city states are interesting. I think they improve the game. I'm kind of worried that we didn't see any of the old city states get changes because there are a few of them that are kind of garbage, in my opinion. I don't know which ones I could point out, but there are a couple of them that I feel are like kind of crap, and I would like to see those get changed over new ones being added, because I feel like just adding new ones, sure, it kind of addresses the problem, but you kind of leave in the problem of all these old city states that are garbage. So I'm a bit worried about that, but I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt here. There's also 3 new natural wonders. We'll have a quick look at those before we wrap this up. Natural wonder Civ 6. But I clicked on that. Natural wonder. Okay. So the first one is Ayajafakolukul. I can't say it. Whoa, what are you doing? No. Don't do that to me. Thank you. Okay. Don't know what's described there. What we have here, adjacent plots yield +1 culture, +2 food. I think this is like a volcano or something, so whether or not it appears in the middle of the ocean or on land, this could be pretty interesting. If it spawns the ocean, it's a bit weaker. If it spawns on land, it's pretty strong, because +2 food and +1 culture means, some pretty interesting things in terms of tiles yields. If it's on coast, yeah, okay. I think it's actually in Iceland, I could be wrong. And then we have the Giant's Causeway, which land combat units that enter the adjacent plots receive the Spear of Finn. +5 combat strength is like a decent bonus. I think if a player spawns with this in his land, it could make him like potentially more aggressive. I don't think it's going to decide a game, but it might change the way people play a little bit. Let's see here, and the Lysefjord or Lysefjord. I don't know how to say it. Naval combat units that enter adjacent plots gain next promotion. It's a pretty cool bonus, and I really like it. But naval units are already kind of weak. Naval civs are already kind of weak. Naval is kind of irrelevant in a lot of the time. Yeah, it's cool. I think out of them, I think this, depending on how it goes, these two are definitely stronger. The Ayajo Fakajukul and Giant's Causeway. I think they could have the biggest impact on the outcome of the game, depending on where they spawn and what goes on there. Um, but I think that more or less wraps up the analysis. I think there's only like a my browser is going crazy, and I think the only thing left was like a Viking scenario pack, which I will do a playthrough of. At least I plan on doing a playthrough of every scenario pack. Um, I think they sound like a lot of fun. I've never really got into them, so I want to try them. Uh, I think that more or less wraps up the game. Wraps up the game. Wraps up the video for now. Let me know if I missed anything, or or you feel I was wrong about anything, or if you think that there maybe was something that was deserving of being talked about that I didn't talk about, or if you agree with me and think I'm awesome, or if you disagree with me and think I'm an asshole. Uh, yeah, leave me a comment if you subscribe to any of the previous statements. If you want to see more content like this, I do try to do a Civilization video every day of the week. Now, of course, over the holidays, I kind of had a bit of a slip there and it was a couple of days missing, but no, I try to do a video every day. So if you want to see more videos like that, make sure you subscribe. And if you want to help the channel out, make sure you like the videos. It does actually help the channel out, and it also helps the channel out a lot if you share the videos by giving them to people. Don't obviously just share them randomly. If you really like it and you want other people to see it, make sure you share it. But I think that more or less wraps up this sort of self-promotion roundup that you kind of are forced to do just out of necessity to survive on YouTube. I think that is it from me, and I hope you enjoyed the content, and I hope to see you in the next piece of content I do. But that's it for now, and see you next time. Bye bye.